New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is in freehold, where he is expected to sign the Honig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act. The act is named in memory of the 7-year-old Howell boy who died of brain cancer in the final days of his cancer battle. Jake's parents used cannabis oil to help treat his pain. Ever since, they have been lobbying for extended medical marijuana permission. Let's watch now as Governor Murphy is expected to expand New Jersey's medical marijuana program.
Mike, you're up. Sure?
I was supposed to introduce the Honigs. Sorry and thank you.
We'd first like to thank wonderful event hosts Tommy and Yvette for allowing us to host this at your establishment. We gave them only about 5 days notice and said, do you mind if 100 people come? And by the way, the governor's going to hold a press conference, and they've been more than accommodating, so thank you to Tommy and Yvette. We didn't just pick any restaurant on Route 9. There's meaning behind Tommy's. It was one of Jake's favorite restaurants. It's a wonderful family, and again, we're honored to be here. We'd also like to thank, of course, every single individual that is here today. You've been with us through the journey, and you know there's been a lot of lows, but it's also important for everybody to come together and experience something so positive that comes out of a pretty crummy experience, and something as positive as this. So thank you to everybody. Be Like Jake always shows up strong, always. So how did we get here? Our son, Jake Honig, was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2012, August 3rd. Hearing that your son has brain cancer is probably the second worst thing you can hear. Jake battled for 5 years, and through that time he spent some happy days in remission, but he also relapsed 3 times. Jake underwent brutal treatments that included 2 brain surgeries, 61 rounds of radiation, and over 20 rounds of chemotherapy. But what was so impressive is not the therapy that Jake endured, but how he endured it. Jake was a master of controlling what he could. Jake couldn't control that he had cancer. He couldn't control that he had to go through these barbaric treatments, but he could control the fact that he found some point, at least in every day, to smile and controlling what he could, and that's why Jake the Tank continues to be our inspiration. During Jake's treatments, he was part of the New Jersey medical marijuana program for 9 months. Jake was on medical cannabis, and he would go to school, he would excel in sports, he would play video games, he'd spend quality time with his family and friends. You would never know that Jake was on medical cannabis because the way that we were able to administer his medicine. There came a time in Jake's disease that the cancer became too much. And we were told the worst thing that a parent can hear, and that was that Jake was going to die. When we heard that, we were released on hospice with what seemed to be a gallon of morphine and more Oxycontins than any one household should ever have their hands on. Jake's disease progressed, and we would use the medications that were so-called modern-day medicine's best. We would give him his morphine, and we would give him his oxy to help control the pain, nausea, vomiting, agitation, sleep, and delusion, which the medicine did very little, if anything, to treat those symptoms. Morphine and Oxycontin proved to have stronger side effects than it did to be efficacious. When Jake was on morphine, he would become high. He would have side effects so bad that he would scratch his chest, that he would actually bleed. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't look at food. He couldn't look at water without vomiting. He was truly a different person while on those medications. It was then when we made a decision to increase his usage of medical cannabis. And to our delight, every time we would dose him his medical marijuana, 20 minutes later, his pain would subside. He was able to eat, he was able to drink, he was able to sleep, he was able to spend time with Gianna, spend time with us. He was able to watch movies, he was able to go on his iPad. But most of all, he was able to laugh again, and the medical cannabis allowed for Jake's personality to shine through his cancer. Medical cannabis proved not to be life-saving for Jake, but certainly life-changing for us as a family. There's one instance that we remember, and we talk about it often, and it was about a week before Jake passed away. We dosed him his medical marijuana. It was the only medication he was on, a week before he passed away. We're sitting on the couch together as a family in January, and we're watching the movie Frozen. And Jake's sitting to my right, and he's eating his Chick-fil-A waffle fries. But in typical Jake fashion, he was scooping his waffle fries into a Wendy's Frosty and just loving every minute. And I'll never forget, he kind of gave me a nudge, and he goes, "Hey, bro." And I look at him, I looked at the joy on his face as he's watching this movie, and I started to cry, and Janet started to cry, because we were so happy that he had a moment of happiness. And we knew this wasn't going to last forever. It was we knew we were living in a special moment that medical marijuana allowed us to have. And he shoves me and he says, "Hey, bro." I go, "What?" And he's hysterical. He goes, "The snowman's talking." And I go, "I know, Olaf's pretty cool, isn't he?" And I'll never forget, I heard it subtly in my ear as he puts another waffle fry in his mouth, and he goes, "This is great." And I thought to myself, this is great. We're experiencing something that unfortunately a lot of other parents that are in this situation don't get to experience. And that is simply because of the medical cannabis that he was on. Eventually, the disease became too much, and Jake passed away January 21st, 2018. He passed away comfortably in his own bed. After that time, we knew that we had a mission no longer to fight for Jake, but instead to continue Jake's fight. And we've been able to do that in a number of ways. The first is the Be Like Jake movement was started, a 501c3 organization that helps families in Middlesex, Monmouth, and Ocean County. And we directly impact these families by raising awareness and funds for childhood cancer. And I want to thank the Strumolo family, the Martino family, and the Shern family for your support and allowing us to accomplish so many amazing things in such a short period of time. We'd also like to thank 3 organizations that were there for us every step of the way, and that is Squanathon, Francis Foundation, and Kick Cancer Overboard. You guys were there to support us when we were going through the worst of times, and now we look to you as mentors as you continue your organizations, and one day we strive to be as successful as you are. The other way that we promised to continue Jake's fight is to raise awareness for medical marijuana. The biggest obstacle we ran into was actually running out of medication. When we would run low or completely run out, we had to substitute in the morphine and the oxy. And not once did the morphine or oxy become as efficacious as the medical marijuana. In fact, every single time, the side effects completely outweighed any benefit it was providing. Our biggest obstacle was running out of medicine, something that no parent should ever have to endure. Your child goes through everything that's asked: surgeries, radiation, chemotherapy. And then when it comes to the time when you can no longer save their life, all you can do is keep them comfortable, you should be allowed to do that as a parent. And what Jake Honig's bill will do, among many, many advancements, people are calling this the strongest medical marijuana bill in the country. Among many things, what is so special and nearest to our heart is that it completely lifts the ban for terminally ill patients. Now they can receive unlimited amount of medication that it will take to keep them comfortable as they end their life. Jake's made the ultimate sacrifice. What a lot of people don't realize is that 7 children die every day from cancer. 42 are diagnosed every day from cancer that's in this country. And we think about all the kids that made the ultimate sacrifice, including Logan Parker, Stephanie Bader, Lena the Lion. They're here today as well. Their families are here today. Their children, unfortunately, made the ultimate sacrifice with Jake, but they're all looking down and know that today is a very positive day. Advocates have waited for this. Caregivers have waited for this. Parents have waited for this. But most important, patients have waited for this. So we're not going to hold it up any longer. We are proud to have First Lady Tammy Murphy in attendance, and it's our honor to introduce the Governor of the state of New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy.
I thought Mike was a friend. I just said to him, why do I have to follow you? What can I possibly say? My Lord, God bless us. Please bear with me. This needs, there we go, sorry. Oh, my Lord, what a special day. To Mike, Janet, and Gianna. By the way, Gianna, the Pledge of Allegiance to you and your buddies there. That was pretty extraordinary. Mike and Janet and Gianna, I guess we basically started to meet virtually the weekend Jake passed, having read about him in the papers, and we've been on this journey with you ever since. And thank you for everything you do, and certainly for being here this morning, and thank you for being such powerful advocates on behalf of Jake and his memory, and on behalf of everybody else, including those little kids who have already gone before us, like Jake, and those whose lives we will at least make better, if not save, by the actions we're taking today. Making medical marijuana available as a treatment for kids like Jake has been a long, complex journey, and our entire state is indebted to you all and to Jake and his memory for walking us throughout this process. One more time for the Honigs. As they say, it takes a village, and we certainly have a village here today. I want to make sure we give a shout out to Mackenzie Hupke, who sang the anthem and who herself has battled with cancer. Mackenzie, stand up and please take a bow. I was going to say something like, the Mets could use you to sing the national anthem. Turns out the Mets could probably use you in right field as well. That's for another discussion. I want to thank the Bonfiglios. I said to Tommy when I grew up, I had a parish priest named Father Bonfilio, and Tommy reminded me that he got sick of telling people it's pronounced like the G's like a Y, say with G. But to you and Yvette for hosting us today. But more broadly, right? When a family is going through the nightmare of caring for a sick child, it is families like yours that help them get through it. And what a tremendous example you have set for the community by reaching out to feed families who are in the middle of a struggle. This is one of 3 locations. We'll do a shameless commercial for your operation. Whenever you see the word TAP, knowing I'm a Murphy, I'm going to have a second home here, I promise you. You've worked with the Ashley Lauren Foundation. You do Child of the Month. You feed folks like the Honigs and Jake himself going through dark times. God bless you again. Thank you for everything you all do. I want to also give a shout out to some folks on our team. Commissioner Dr. Sharif El Nahal, our health commissioner. Assistant Commissioner Jeff Brown. I have expressed my intent to nominate Sharif's successor. Judy Persicelli is with us. Judy. And Sharif and Jeff and your teams, I want to commend you on your work on our medical marijuana program. It has improved the quality of life of tens of thousands of patients and their families, and I can't thank you enough. I want to give a shout out to Paramount Garg on our team, who's been on this journey from day one. And one other member of our team, it's her birthday. We may sing. Aliana Alfaro is with us. Happy birthday, Aliana. I also want to thank some folks up here with me and also reiterate the acknowledgments of the elected officials in the audience. Let's hear it for the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin. Senator Joe Vitale behind me. Assembly members Joanne Downey and Joe Danielson. Thank you so much for your advocacy and for your compassion for the patients who benefit from this expansion. I said to Joe Vitale on the Senate side, when it's the bottom of the ninth and there are 2 outs on matters of health care, whether it's the bill that we're signing today or whether it's the whole range of bills related to the Affordable Care Act. Joe, I cannot thank you enough on the Senate side. And on this one, Joe Danielson, even when we disagreed on this stuff, You were a tireless advocate. But to all the elected officials, Barbara, great to be with you. The huge Monmouth contingent, Joanne and Serena and Declan and Eric. Andrew, welcome over to this side of the state as well. But to all the elected officials, one more time, let's give them a shout out. And Mayor Dr. Teresa Berger, you're on a road trip from Howell, but the Honigs hail from Howell. It's great to have you with us today, and your chairman, John McCabe, who's another dear friend who's with us as well. So in January of 2018, and I got elected in November of 17, we took the oath on the 16th of January. Within a matter of days, I signed an executive order directing the New Jersey Department of Health to review all aspects of our existing medical marijuana program with a specific focus on expanding patient access. Our goal has always been to have a program that is modernized, compassionate, and puts patients first. That review concluded with proposed new rules to make our medical marijuana program functional and capable of meeting the needs of patients, and proposed statutory changes, many of which I'm proud to sign in a few moments into law today. With today's changes, we are raising the monthly limit on medicinal marijuana so that patients won't need to take dangerous and addictive opioids, as Mike alluded to, just because they couldn't be prescribed the necessary amount of vital and appropriate medicine. We're extending the authorization period. We're doing many things today. These are just some of the things we're doing. The authorization period from 90 days to a year, lifting some of the burden for these patients who are already spending too much money and more time than they ever wanted to spend in a doctor's office. We are allowing edible forms of medical marijuana, which are easier for many patients to ingest, to be available for adult patients and not just minors. And over the next 3 years, we will be completely phasing out the sales tax on medical marijuana. Yeah, that's a big one. That is a big one, so that it is treated like any other form of medicine. Thank you to all the patient advocates, doctors, nurses, family members, and the public for supporting this issue. Over the past several years, a lot of us have come to a new understanding of how medical marijuana can be used to help patients. With this knowledge, both minds and laws have been changed, and most importantly, sick people have been helped, pain has been eased, and precious moments with sick family members have been cherished. I would now like to introduce our Commissioner of Health, Dr. Sharif Elnahal. Sharif, as you move to
We've been watching Governor Phil Murphy sign the Jake Honig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act. The act was named in memory of a 7-year-old boy who died from cancer. This act expands the state's medical marijuana program